Hi, everybody. My name is Natalie Yeadon. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Impetus Digital. At Impetus Digital, we have built some of the best-in-class asynchronous and synchronous virtual collaboration and communication tools. We've worked with life science companies from across the globe over the past 13 years to help them with everything from their virtual advisory boards, their online investigator meetings, their virtual medical education, publication groups, and everything in between. And since the launch of our award-winning Insight Events platform, we've also been helping pharmaceutical companies with their innovation hackathons, sales training, and corporate events. But more importantly, at Impetus, we really believe that everything starts with a conversation. And from these big, hairy, audacious conversations with the leading edge thinkers, digital provocateurs, and healthcare thought leaders, we can all work to collectively and positively disrupt healthcare. So I'm really thrilled to having one of these thought leaders at the table with me. And this is Dr. Burt Zweigenhaft, who's actually a key industry thought leader and an accomplished executive in the specialty biotech, pharmaceutical, and oncology cancer care ecosystem. He is managing partner of Upstream Partners, LLC. This is actually a New York-based investment advisory company focused on incubation to commercialization of new healthcare delivery services, specialty biopharmaceuticals, genomics, precision medicine, and artificial intelligence technologies into the healthcare ecosystems. He also serves as executive director to the shareholder group of Cancer Treatment Centers of America, executive vice chairman of ClearTrust. This is a warranty-based technology contracting platform for healthcare. He's also the co-chair and co-founder of the Association for Value-Based Cancer Care. In short, we call it AVBCC. He's also the editor-in-chief of the Journal for Value-Based Cancer Care. Burt is also the co-founder. If that's not enough, Burt is also the co-founder and past president of the National Association of Specialty Pharmacy, NASP, and previously founded and held the office of CEO and vice chairman of Onco360. This was a national oncology pharmacy care management provider. He also received his PhD and DLit from Alfred State College and earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Management and Economics from the University of Buffalo. Welcome, Burt. So happy to have you on the show today.
You left one thing out, the most important thing I do.
And that is?
Swim across America. We're raising money for cancer research.
Absolutely. We'll dig into that. You've got all kinds, like, seriously, I've read and seen a lot of resumes. How do you do it all in a day? This is insane. What got you started and got you to where you are today? Tell us a little bit about your career trajectory, which is very, very interesting.
Well, I think I was a distance swimmer through high school and college, so I know how to go the distance. So I'm hopefully I can finish my life strong. No, listen, we love what we do, and I always tell the kids and people that we work with, I've been fortunate. I go to work every day. It's not a job. I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy what I do. So it's not work, it's pleasure. And I think passion is a big part of everything you do. And if you have that passion, you can accomplish an awful lot. And sometimes, you think, where did the passion come from? I think, it's your educators or your coaches in life, your experiences you go through. And again, I've been blessed and fortunate to have had great educators who have really motivated me and saw the light in me and directed me in the right way. And fortunately, I'm here today and I've accomplished a lot, and hopefully we accomplish a lot more.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of really juicy bits, I think, in your career. I'd love to kind of touch, maybe double click on a couple of them before getting into some of the value-based cancer care topics that I want to discuss. But really interested in you being a managing partner with Upstream Partners. Tell us a little bit about what that company does.
Sure. Well, Upstream Partners is, we have a bench of very talented people who have been in various sectors of healthcare. One of my partners, Linda Wilson, was the founder of the PricewaterhouseCoopers Healthcare M&A Group. Again, brings a lot of experience as a former CEO of a hospital system. When you look at my background, it's really been on the payer and the drug company side. But you know what is really interesting, and we have pharmacy directors, medical directors, pharma executives that are all part of our team. What I find so surprising is the young kids. And I say young kids because I'm getting older in life and I look at their faces and I can see there's a difference. But how, they're just so motivated. They're new, they're out of school, they're not compromised by some of the, the old saying is, when you're in the woods, you can't see through the trees. They come with this fresh, bright outlook. And I think, it's a combination of our young people that are coming in with open minds and a lot of energy, and it's the experience. When you look at things, 360 degrees trends go. And I can't tell you how many times we're in a meeting where we've been there before, we've seen that before, but we're 180 degrees from where we were 6 months ago. And that's what Upstream does. Upstream is, that talented group with a ton of experience that can help deliver or de-risk a situation to a company or a group of people that are looking at investments in healthcare, because we've been there and done that. We've been in those shoes. We understand the problems. We understand the obstacles, headwinds, tailwinds. So that's what, our clients are: pharma-based, payer-based, hospital and health systems, and new venture-backed ideas that are trying to get into this marketplace, including, digital health, which is a big thing today.
It's really exciting. I mean, since COVID-19, probably a lot of scrutiny, interest with a lot of people in healthcare in a way that's kind of unprecedented. So you're definitely probably feeling some of the momentum of the groundswell there. I'm also curious, Burt, for the role that you have as Executive Director for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Mm-hmm. Why that specifically, and what are you doing with that group?
Oh, sure. Well, Cancer Treatment Centers of America has been a hospital-based organization for 35 years. They were kind of unique in a way. I think they really came up with this whole idea of direct-to-consumer advertising in healthcare. I see it when I'm on a subway or maybe at an airport, and all the signs in the airport for cancer care providers today say, you don't have to travel to get the best cancer care today. It's right here in your town. But they were always a destination hospital system for cancer. They also didn't like a lot of the constraints that insurance was putting on them. So they looked for to give the quality care that they wanted to give. It was tough when you have to accept Medicare or Medicaid rates, and that those rates don't afford the practice income you're going to need to deliver high quality care. So, but the unfortunate thing in our country, in the United States, is 50% of the population that will get cancer and will be treated are paid for by government programs. And these programs are they offer a little bit less than what the commercial side will pay for a similar service. And I think that some of the tension that we see in the system is trying to balance high quality care with a payment system or pay for service system that's a little antiquated. So that's why, where you originally talked earlier on about disruptors are so important, and innovation is so important in healthcare. So I have a lot of experience of working with that family office and helping shape their business model. It's emerging. Hospital-based systems that will always be high quality, complex care, but still a greater part of the cancer care community will be treated in your backyard by community care, which does a great job too. So there's this, I guess what I'm starting to see is more of a collaborative model in the way that healthcare is delivered across the United States and cancer care, which is a good thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And I think it's great, the kind of work that you're doing with them. You're also the executive vice chair with a company called Clear Trust. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, well, the soup du jour in healthcare today is value-based care. And I kind of smile when I say this because, we're a little active in understanding that. So I had this thesis that if we asked 100 people what value-based care is, we would get 200 answers. And I was wrong. We got 300 answers. And I kind of equate it to healthcare being kind of it's like playing chess, but with a 3D chessboard. If you're a drug company, you might move your bishop to your knight position differently than if you're a payer, differently if you're a provider. So what you see is you find out that healthcare is very complex. And value-based care is really going to be the way I think the future is going to be molded. But there's so much disagreement about what it actually is. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find a way in which we can deliver outcomes-based quality, get payment for services in a neutral platform. So Clear Trust. Clear Trust is a neutral site where parties in healthcare can contract with each other on very complex algorithms. Let's say I'm a drug company and I say that my product at 6 months will perform on that tumor. You will have a reduction in the impact on that cell. And of course, we can abate the cancer. Those endpoints can be matched up in the data in the EMRs. So we can use the actual data in the EMR or from the digital film, the CAT scans and EMRs to prove that that outcome actually happened. And the complexity of that contract can be done on a computational platform. So I call these smart contracts between parties. So you can have a smart contract between a payer and a provider. You could have a provider and a drug company. You could have personalized medicine involved in this. Did the genetic report get the targeting correct? Did the provider actually follow the prescriptive pathway? And if they did, and can we pay them for that? If they're off course and they didn't follow and they went off label or they didn't use the drug on the right cohort or the right patient population, should the service or the drug be paid for if the drug didn't perform? So when you start to get into, and you earlier said it's a big hairy questions, it's a big hairy ideas. That's the thing that I think we need to solve for, where you could have smart contracts between parties. You could have a neutral computational platform where the economic value, the transfer of value for the derivative of what the contract calls for, it can be computed. And you can have transparency because we all want transparency in healthcare, and we want to solve for the lack of trust. I think prior authorization and a lot of the step therapy edits and things that, payers and providers have to wrestle with are only there because we don't have trust in the healthcare system. We don't believe the docs or the system is going to do the right thing. But in this new world of transparency and data interoperability, we start to get there. So Clear Trust is trying to be that platform where the interoperability between systems, this exchange of data can happen. And we've been fortunate because the 21st Century Cures Act, which was passed, and CIMI and some other projects, when you look at government programs, have mandated or opened up the possibility that you need to be able to transfer data. We have FHIR and we have Blue Button, we have a lot of things. So the ability to transfer this data, we're no longer blinded. We are in a place where there's nowhere to hide. And if you put that together with smart, like blockchain type technology, and it's in real time, you end up with a platform where people can do the very complex transactions of contracting, which is value-based contracting, versus value-based contracting be, I'm the hammer, you're the nail, I want a big discount. Maybe value-based contracting, we pay more because let's just face it, cancer, we're one of these industries where a lot of what we do doesn't work and we pay for it, but it was the right thing to do. It was the right science to apply. So, we have to get to a much better way of transferring economic value between partners in a transparent way. And that's what Clear Trust as a platform is trying to achieve.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that you just really simplified basically what blockchain is
Hope
and
I did.
decentralized autonomous organizations. And so that was very well done for people who may not understand that terminology. So I love what you guys are doing there. You also, Bert, have a lot of academic appointments. Tell us what you're sort of doing in that regard and how you're trying to bring different disparate parts of the community together
Yeah.
to do work. What is the role and why are you on these? Why are you working with these academic institutions?
Yeah, well, it all we want to graduate smarter, more informed people into our ecosystems. And so, you know, they don't really have a lot of the real world business cases and courses in these colleges and these academic settings. So we try to bring in executives that can help transfer. This is the world you're going to enter. These are the real things you're going to face. This is how it really works. And so we try to bring that into academia to better prepare these young people for the experience they're going to face as they try to change and disrupt healthcare. I will tell you that collaboration means an awful lot to me, and I think that's something that's really been missing. It was very clear when we started out with Swim Across America many, many years ago, just in the research side. You had many researchers sitting in their laboratories conducting research and had great ideas, and they were chasing great targets. But there were plenty of other labs doing the same exact thing, or maybe in a different way, looking at a different object or goal or objective of a piece of data. And, collaboration today is something that exists between these research labs because it didn't previously. And that's why I think research is getting better and we're delivering more cures to the market. It's because we have this collaboration between parties. Again, whether it's academia or research or even real world, we all need to work better together and we need to harmonize our efforts. And, we saw that in cancer care. So I think that's really where the world's going today. We're doing better because of this collaboration. We see that in cancer care. Mathematics, look at how, now in research, we're bringing in mathematicians. Well, these people don't have the typical medical training, but they can solve these computational complex problems. How will that tumor respond? What does that progression look like in that cohort of those comorbidities? How will this immunology product affect that? It's great science. And
It
the
really is.
computational science with the practice of medicine is really starting to bring about some fundamental change, better outcomes, better predictability. And, that's our goal. So again, collaboration with academia, with research, with the real world, this is all something we need to do. So it's been, something I've learned over time. I got this from our Swim Across America experience that, again, when we first started funding research labs in cancer, they didn't collaborate with each other. They had some great ideas, some great science. We put some money behind it early on and we got lucky. They got lucky. We did bring some great cures to the market and some great innovation. But I think innovation will move quicker with collaboration between researchers, academia, and real world practice. Let me add one more kind of really point. So Jed Walchuk, who was at Sloan Memorial, was involved with developing the first immunology products. He said he was, as a practitioner and a researcher, really made sense because if he was just a researcher when they had developed Opdivo, they wouldn't have been able to observe the patients and what was going on. And because Jed was treating a patient who at week 13 didn't show on film a response to his tumor from the immunology project, but the patient started to argue with him and said, but doctor, I don't have this transit pain. I got my energy back. I'm sure I didn't see Jed's face, but it must have lit up because he realized it's working and this is what we expect to happen. without being in the practice of medicine and just being a straight researcher, he wouldn't have observed that real world event. So that's just, kind of a little bit of a nut bit of why I think when we're looking at the industry today, whether you're in revenue cycle management in the billing area, you're a nurse in navigation and advocacy, whether you're a personalized medicine and you're a biomathematician, statistician, whether you're a typical med onc, rad onc, or surgical oncologist, drug companies, all these people are selling gene therapy. All of them need to collaborate together if we're going to move the needle down the road, get better cures, get better outcomes, and better responsibility to the cost of healthcare.
Huge. Yeah. All really, really phenomenal points. I love how you're sort of triangulating all into this place around innovation and collaboration. You've been bringing up Swim Across America a lot. So why don't we just dig into that? Tell us a little bit about what that is and why you're involved.
It's a bunch of former college swimmers and friends that got together 35 years ago. And one of their friends lost his leg to osteosarcoma. And they decided to originally run across America. Not a great idea. Tough.
Yeah.
But eventually it became Swim Across America. And Swim Across America early on started to fund cancer research. That's what they felt the need was. And I remember the first swim raised $5,000, which was, back in the early 80s, a big deal. Today, Swim Across America will raise $10 million a year to go to cancer research. It's supporting 58 different, or maybe it's 60 labs today across the country. All the money that's raised from these swim events, which are open water events or pool events, or even you just swimming laps and getting people to sponsor you, that money goes into a research lab locally. So if you're sitting in Buffalo, or you're sitting in Montana, in Kansas City, if you're in Richmond, Virginia, if you're in Atlanta, these swims that we run go to support a local lab. So in Atlanta, we support Children's Hospital. And I think that's about a $700,000 raise locally that goes to a research lab there. At Sloan Memorial, where I live here in New York, again, Memorial Sloan, Columbia Presbyterian, we have a bunch of different research projects, including Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories that get funded. So it's a way for you to raise money for something that's needed, cancer research. That's our hope for cures. Keep the money locally and to get involved. And the average person who gets involved with our swims raises about $150.
Wow.
So when you think about raising $10 million at $150 a swimmer,
that's a beautiful thing.
a long way to go.
That, being able to keep your friends from 35 years ago is something to be said.
Yeah. But here's the other thing about why it's so important what we do. We're not a big drug company that will invest after you got some pretty good science. We're the angels. We come in when you have a good story, it sounds good to our team, and we believe in you, and we'll give you that first round of funding. Without that initial angel capital, these ideas, there's someone who looks at this little snippet of DNA and thinks they could change the world, will never get off the ground. And that's why fundamentally it's such an important charity. It's such an important program that we have. And we have, thousands of swimmers and people. They don't even have to be a swimmer, by the way. We get a lot of people that show up for the events that honestly, without some of our Olympians dragging them on a swim noodle through the event because it's so dedicated to raise money, would probably drown. They're not swimmers, but they want to raise money for research. And that's the most important thing. And they, look, every one of us will have 1 in 2 will be affected by cancer in their life. We all see it, and it's a terrible disease, and we got to beat it. And it's going to start with really good research, and that's what we're trying to do.
Love what Swim Across America is doing. It sounds outstanding. Burt, you're also was the co-founder and past president of the National Association of Specialty Pharmacy, or the NASP. Tell us what they do and what you sort of brought to the table.
Well, biologics today will represent 50% of the drug cures or medical technology that's coming to the market. They're to treat high-cost, complex disease, from rheumatology, Fabry's disease, some diseases you never even heard of, Pompe disease, and so forth. And the biotech industry is doing a wonderful job, way beyond just cancer and many, many diseases. All these drugs are expensive. They're tough to manage. They can't be on every drugstore shelf across America or in Canada, wherever you are. They're expensive to produce. They're difficult to store and deliver. And the type of engagement between the pharmacist or the care team with those patients, it requires specialized training and specialized tools, technology tools, communication tools, education tools, and so forth, even complex reimbursement. So this industry of specialty pharmacy at the beginning grew up in a world where no one knew what they were doing and how their important role. And there became a need for an organization that could represent these emerging pharmacies and the great products and the innovation they were bringing to the market with their drug partners. And that calling created the National Association of Specialty Pharmacies. It still exists today. They're responsible for these, delivery between their partnership between payers and drug companies to get this great technology into the bodies of patients that will benefit from them. And they're doing a great job. So I've been very proud to do that. Again, these people in that industry are mission driven. They do an excellent job. And we're very thankful as America that we have an industry like this that is really dedicated to that niche, small patient populations. I mean, diabetes and asthma are big. Everyone knows that, but you get in some of these populations, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 patients. Someone has Behçet, no one would even know about them. But here's a dedicated arm of our industry that is providing the support and the technology and the delivery of these amazing drugs to help these patients.
Beautiful, love it. Past founder and CEO and vice chairman of Onco360. What is that company all about?
It was a wonderful experience, a great run. If you think about cancer care, really transformed based on the Medicare Modernization Act of 2006. The innovation of all the new oral oncology drugs coming to the market, the growth in survival, cancer, we're doing a good job today. We're surviving. It's becoming a lot in maintenance diseases. So again, the oncology industry needed to create a service vehicle to help patients get on these drugs at home, maintain them, help with the complex reimbursement. They're all expensive, right? You see the drug therapies costing upwards of $100,000 a year. And so Onco360 became the first pharmacy that was totally dedicated to cancer patients. And we built that company over many years. We had moved on and got a very nice offer, and we sold it, and the company is still doing tremendously today. In fact, some of the original employees, I think our first 4 or 5 employees are still with that company today and doing a magnificent job. There's some others, cancer is rather big, that play a big role in this industry, but it's nice to see a company that I incubated and had a great culture of, again, young people, dedicated, worked hard, passionate about what they did. That was the culture we look for and the types of individuals. And it's doing just well today, and it's delivering on the promise of better care for cancer patients.
Yeah, and that brings us to where we are today, Burt, with you co-chairing and co-founding the Association for Value-Based Cancer Care, which is the nice sign that you've got in the back there in your virtual background. Let's get into the story here. What exactly are you doing with this association?
Yeah, it's next to Swim Across America, or in concert with Swim Across America, it's the most important thing I'm doing today. I was invited to speak at an ONS meeting, Oncology Nursing Society meeting, 13 years ago. And two nurses before us were talking about prehabilitation at Johns Hopkins. One of them was Billy Shockney, who is the one of the founders and principals of the oncology nursing. It's called the Academy of Oncology Nursing, AON. And Lily was talking about prehabilitation at Hopkins. What'd that mean? So Natalie, you got the three words you don't want to hear. You have cancer, opposed to the three words you would like to hear.
You don't have cancer.
I
Is
love
that for them to,
no.
is that more of the three
No,
words?
no, you want, I want to hear I love you, which is
Oh,
important.
yeah.
But when you have cancer, you're going to hear you have cancer. Your head's going to spin. Actually, at Swim Across America, we would answer you, you have hope. Those are our
Right.
three words. But unfortunately, you would go home and you think, oh, my life's going to end. How can I afford this? What am I going to do? What are my options? At Hopkins, they didn't let you go home. They sat you down right away. They talked about your nutrition, about exercise, sexual function, faith, whatever you needed. And the ones who got that type of consultation, guess what? They were 40% better outcomes on their therapies because they knew what to expect and stay on it. They needed 65% less pain medications. So I'm sitting there with Dr. Gary Owens from Independence Blue Cross, and I'm looking at him because we're speaking next. I said, Gary, I'm a drug guy. I go to the drug meetings. I wouldn't have gone to a nursing meeting. We're invited to speak. But by listening to them, I realized how important collaboration would be in cancer, because I was outside my silo of just pharmacy, delivering drug, getting it to patients, and what we do. And it became very apparent that not only could nursing play a great role with the oncology pharmacists I have, but it could help with the hospitals and the community practice. We need to involve radiation. We need to involve the advocacy companies that help get the funding, these oncology nurse navigators, and oncology nurses. So it became very clear to me, including that you have personalized medicine, and then today, here, digital health tools. We can basically monitor patients from home, telehealth. So when you start to think about delivering healthcare, it's complex, and you need an ecosystem in which everybody collaborates and shares and works in the best interest of the patient on the same team, united. And so in speaking with Gary, I said, look, we're the drug people, or you're a medical director. You go to your meetings. Why don't we create a meeting? Because no one has time to go to 30 meetings a year to all the different groups. No one can do that. In which in 2 days, everything that happens in the ecosystem of cancer will be discussed. And you will go back with that knowledge and take that and incorporate that into your business process. And that's what I did, when I went home from the ONS meeting, back to Onco 360. I said, we're going to marry these oncology nurses with our oncology pharmacists. And guess what? We did a better job. We improved on everything we did, which we weren't doing a bad job, but we got better. We can do the same thing here. So that's why it's so important, the Association of Value-Based Cancer Care, because in 2 days, you will sit down and meet all the key decision makers in all the ecosystems that play a role in cancer care from start to finish. And you will take those ideas and that collaboration and that networking and go back to your particular silo and incorporate that to make cancer care better. So that's been our goal. We run it as a 501c, so we don't have to charge an arm and a leg to come to our meeting. We try to keep it to all of the KOLs, the key opinion leaders, the knowledge leaders who are driving these changes in the ecosystem. And, besides the great speakers, you're also going to get some great sidebars. If you're a medical director at Humana, wouldn't it be nice to talk to the medical director from Aetna or United Healthcare while you're sitting there? If you're with a drug company at Takeda, would you want to talk to Genentech and Amgen and see what's going on? And what are you thinking about value-based care? What's this OCM the government's going to be doing? What's the alternative payment models in radiation going to do to our industry? What's this IPI, International Price Index, that the Trump administration wanted to put? Or how is the 340B program affecting or not affecting us in our business models? Well, there's just some new things about white bagging in the industry. You also hear about, so white bagging is where the drug is provided by the insurance company to the hospital or the practice to take them out of the drug dispensing business. Well, they still have all the expenses with that. So these are the conversations that we have. We get deep. Some of them are uncomfortable, but they have to be had. And I think it makes our industry better. So the goal has been to do that. We do this once a year. COVID last year affected us like everyone. We went, virtual, and we're still able to do a great job. This year, I think we will be live without a doubt. We'll be here in New York City, October 13th, 14th, and 15th. And we have about 160, Natalie, 160 speakers. That's what I'm pretty much working on here today. Who are great speakers, have great content, great passion for what we're doing, that will be discussing disruptive conversations will be had, discussing the future of cancer care. And we even have we do bring in patients because, the voice of a cancer patient is usually important to hear too. You want to walk a mile in someone's shoes, be a patient for a couple of weeks and see how much fun that is. And cancer is not a lot of fun. So the goal is to improve cancer care, collaborate. And again, it's the same theme I've learned. If we've talked for a little while, how many times have I said collaboration? How many times have we talked about bringing the young people in, taking older people like myself with the young and digging in and really working on hard solutions, addressing the tough problems that we have to face.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And I'm encouraging everybody, because we will be leaving those details, to check it out and see if you could attend that brilliant conference this year on October 13th to 15th. So some of the topics, there's probably a myriad of topics. One of them being really the continuous need for discovery, innovation, clinical trials. We were hit really abruptly during COVID with this whole idea around decentralized and hybrid trials. Tell us a little bit about some of the conversations, topic speakers. They're going to be talking about the new world of oncology clinical trials.
Well, we do have the former FDA Commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, talking with the former CMS Administrator, Seema Varma. And I'm sure that Scott, who's been such a great trusted voice in what's going on with COVID in our country, but it'll also be talking about the future of cancer care. What you're going to see at the conference is you're going to see the payers represented. You're going to see the providers, the community oncology, the hospital ones, personalized medicine, digital health. All these groups are going to come together. Pediatrics and cancer care. Something that we overlook. We're doing a great job. We could do better. The revenue cycle management, the advocacy groups, the nursing groups, digital health again, telemedicine and what's going on. So all these groups are going to come in. We have some great speakers besides Dr. Gottlieb and Seema. We have Dr. Cliff Huddis of ASCO, who's the CEO. We have Bob Carlson, who's the head of NCCN, which is our premier cancer centers in the country, including executives from every insurance company and provider group, whether you're a big practice or small across the country. We're going to talk a lot about value-based contracting. We're talking about value-based care. We'll talk about the industry issues. One of the things that COVID did disrupt cancer, and the numbers aren't in yet. We do have Murray Aiken, who I'm a little jealous of Murray and Bruce Payson. Bruce is with Milliman and Murray is with IQVIA. They have all the data. One of my degrees is economics, and economics is all founded on real world data, right? And they have it. They're going to be talking about kind of the economic impact that we've felt in the cancer care ecosystem as COVID has impacted us. One of the impacts has been, patients weren't jumping out of their seats, getting in their cars, or going into hospitals or clinics and being tested for cancer. And so we think that's going to have some impact on the mortality tables long term, which could affect costs. So instead of getting someone at stage 1 or 2, where there's a high hope of cure, we might get them at a later stage, which is not ideal. So, cancer screenings are coming back a little bit. We've seen telemedicine, tremendous uptake overnight. People didn't want to rush and expose themselves and go out, and then they got comfortable with it. Providers like it. We started to see it tail back to where people are going back into full contact with their doctors and their nurses and going into the centers again. Will that last? We now have this variant coming in, and will that start to change it? So economically, we have a lot going on. And the other, I think, big thing is, look, cancer is expensive. If you think about how many drugs actually, look about swim across America. We're early on before anyone would even talk to a researcher of giving them 100 or 200,000 because we like the idea. It takes years until they can get the real funding to help them get through the phase 2 and 3 trials and bring something to market successfully. We're in a tough environment right now. Healthcare costs are being scrutinized. There's a lot of movement in the ecosystem. The payers are becoming stronger. We've seen benefit policies with some insurance companies saying to the hospitals, you know what, on these immunology drugs, we see you doing one therapy. These patients seem to be just fine. It's going to become maintenance. Get them out of the hospital and transfer them to a lower cost site of care. So there's this migration from hospitals to community. There's this tension that exists. There are going to have to be these new agreements of collaboration between a hospital system and the local community oncologist. It could start to affect drug companies and the way they are. We also have a lot of conflicts. One of the things we worry about in the cancer care system is, I don't know if you've heard of total cost of care contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So total cost of care contracts are driven by economics. So we're saying, Natalie, historically, you've treated non-small cell lung cancer, and you're using, in a normalized population, on average, $100,000 per patient. We're going to put you at risk. And if you can come in under 100,000, you could make more. If you go over 100,000, you're going to lose some more reimbursement. It's one-sided risk on you. Well, that's not a great idea for a couple of reasons. One is, I get it from a healthcare perspective. You want to bend the curve, but I'm a oncologist, and I'm looking at a 65-year-old male in front of me that has that diagnosis, and there's a brand new drug that just came to the market, and I have it in my toolbox, but it's expensive. And I know that extra expense on top of that 100,000 is going to put me at a disadvantage economically on reimbursement with my payer contract. Am I going to do the right thing and pull that drug out of the toolbox, or am I not? And then you get to the conflict that you're going to have. Well, how good is that evidence? Is it really that much better than what we currently have in the toolbox? Are the outcomes better? Are the side effects going to be more significant, add to my total cost of care? So I think that I get the fact that we have to be responsible stewards of healthcare in this country, in every country, all around the world. I understand healthcare is expensive, and we have to be good stewards of it. But we shouldn't want to kill innovation when we're trying to stop or bend the curve on the growth of cost of care. Innovation.
So on that point about innovation, so on that point of innovation, I mean, you're stressing this very diligently, is that, are we going to get to a place where it's no longer feasible? When we start talking about, the CAR Ts and the immunotherapies and everything else that's going on, and people are stacking and double tracking and tripling the therapies, how are we going to manage all of this? And I'm just curious as well, on that same vein, is there is this an opportunity for pharma to reconsider a new business model? And just a caveat there is things like digital therapeutics and other things
Well,
that might not be chemical entities. Just curious on your thoughts there.
yeah, well, so I heard, just think about what you just said to me. Should pharma reconsider it and how that, what their model is? I think we all need to reconsider what the models are. You know, we're all in this together. And that's where I talked about this triangulation between provider, drug technology, patient. Everyone plays a role. And if we all follow the right script, we can get the right outcome and the right balance. So we all have to get on the same team. So I will tell you, we need to change the models and we need to innovate. And that's really, really important. Cell and gene therapy is a great example. We talked about very small patient populations. These, I think there's 1,500 clinical trials in cell and gene therapies out there today that I know of. I'm sure if you talk to the trade group, it's even larger than that. All these new therapies are going to come to the market to treat hundreds, not thousands, of patients. They're all being developed at an exorbitant cost to get the technology in the market, but we don't have 100,000 patients to transfer the cost over time. The other problem is, you know, insurance the way it is today. When I buy my insurance through our plan, every 2.5 years, we switch to a different insurance company. Maybe we stay with them. So when you have if the value proposition is, well, 8 years down the road, by spending this $500,000 $1 million today, you're not going to have the total cost of care costs over those 8 years, which could be far in excess of the $1.5 million spent today. So we're basically telling an insurance company to pay the claim today for the $500,000 $1 million, so we avoid, you know, $5 million down the road. Well, who benefits from the $5 million? Not the person who's paying it today. So, you know, should these warranties travel with you? You know, one of the, you know, simple things is, you know, you buy a car today and you have a warranty. Your transmission's good for 100,000 miles. Well, at 50,000 miles, I decided to trade my car in. Does the warranty go away? No. But in healthcare, our warranties go away because we switch from one company to the next, where you incurred the economic costs and you didn't get to transfer the economic value. So, you know, what is maybe a new model? Having a patient registry where, you know, the cost paid today and the long-term impact on those costs are transferable as credits. I have a good driving record. I don't run red lights. I don't drink and drive, and my rates are low. They predictably know if someone is compliant with their health care, can we produce, you know, better mitigation of rates? But then again, we're you know, the way we do insurance today is we pool interest. Well, the pools aren't working. That's what we're seeing from the insurance company. So, you know, I think these are the, you know, the big questions that we all have to answer. Obviously, in cancer, you know, the bullseye is on everyone's back because of the high cost. We can't get away from that. Whenever they say it's not about the money, it's always about the money. But you know what's value to you when you're a cancer patient and you get to see the birth of your grandkids, or you get to see your kids married down the road, and you were able to get 3 years on your life that you wouldn't have got without the innovation, without the access, without the great caregivers that are there that are fighting for you. I know some doctors that, it's amazing. I mean, they're so busy, and they get on the phone and they fight for that patient to get access to that drug or that therapy, hours at night when they should be, you know, sitting at dinner with their kids and doing the things they do. This is the real world of what's going on out there today. You know, we're all struggling to do a better job. We're all struggling to manage the costs, and it's not easy. So AVBC is a place where those conversations could happen, because everyone's there from the ecosystem. There's no way to duck out of the conversation. It's not a mob mentality. We're all going to get behind this. Oh, yes, we all agree. And yeah, we're all pharmacists and we're all going to do this. Well, you know, pharmacists don't rule the world any more than doctors or patients or drug companies or hospitals or community. We got to work on this stuff together. And that's what
Absolutely.
ABBCC brings together. Again, back to my word, collaborative, sharing.
Yeah,
of
and
ideas.
I love the fact that you've been bringing that theme over and over again. That's what Impetus is all about as well, is collaboration, communication. But you also brought up something earlier that I think is also a very provocative and interesting and important word, and that is trust. Trust really is sort of the baseline amino acid primordial soup component behind our entire economic system and everything that we do in between. And so these DAOs, or these, decentralized autonomous organizations, and blockchain, and the way we're sharing data is all going to be around either people are trusting or untrusting of people, whichever way you look at it. So also curious about your basic thoughts on trust and what that's going to look like in the new economy.
So let me give you my classic story on trust. All right. I've mentioned his name before, Jed Walchuk, who's involved with Jim Allison, first to bringing these immunology drugs to market. Amazing doctor, so gifted and so dedicated. We had him speak at an ABBCC conference. He was going to get there a little bit late. You know why? He's a top person in IO drug therapies in the country, who part of the Nobel Prize winning team, who's on the phone with an insurance company for 45 minutes, arguing, clinically arguing, he's too polite to argue, why this patient deserves access to this drug. He's talking with someone on the phone who knows nothing about immunology, any of the new drugs coming to market, and is working off a policy bulletin in front of them. Doesn't know the patient, doesn't know the history. Lack of trust, right? That's why that conversation has. What a waste of time. And that's where we get into, I said that, these new platforms. When you have all the evidence in front of you electronically, there's nowhere to hide. There's no reason to have this, I know better than you, doc, because the AI technologies and the access to this data is squarely going to sit on top of the science. Numerator, denominator, it's a go. So I think that's what we're going to see. You brought up a great point. Trust between parties can exist when there's full disclosure. And that includes everybody in this ecosystem, including, one of my, look, the drug spend in the United States is about 500 billion dollars, all right? The rebates and the discounts are almost 200 billion. So you're pulling into a gas station and paying $5 a gallon when the real price is $3.50 a gallon. Does it make any sense? We have a distortion in our economic system, the way drugs are being contracted today. Look, I'm not going to pick on the drug companies. I'm not going to pick on the hospitals. I'm not going to pick on the doctors. I'm not going to pick on the specialty pharmacies. We have to solve this problem together. We have an economic system with huge distortion. We don't trust each other. We need transparency, and I believe we're on the verge of that happening today. And, I just talked to a colleague this morning. Maybe the word value-based care is the wrong. It's been bastardized too much. Maybe it's performance-based, paying for a predictable outcome and putting an economic value on it, which is clearly underwritten by the economics and the science. So hopefully that's where we end up. And trust is restored because there's transparency.
I love it. I think this
distortions are gone.
This is actually a great place to end at the top of the hour. So many really interesting and intriguing things there, Burt. I really want to encourage anybody who's listening or watching this, if this is before the time of the conference, to please check out the Association for Value-Based Cancer Care conference that's taking place on October 13th and 15th in New York. If anybody is interested in learning more, finding out about the agenda, or just connecting with Burt with the myriad of things that they're doing in cancer, we encourage you to check out his contact details, which will be available in the show notes below. If you enjoyed this conversation, we also encourage you to check out impetusdigital.com. If you're trying to schedule or book a kind of conference like this, or booking a hackathon or something innovative, talking about some new protocols, value-based protocols, or thinking about new systems and policies, et cetera, this is exactly what we do in the Impetus Insight platform with your clients, payers, patients, allied healthcare providers, physicians, in our asynchronous and synchronous. And we do all this through our white glove service. So check that out. We'd love to work with you. We want to thank everybody for your time. Please like and subscribe. We would also appreciate if you can leave us a review on iTunes as well. Thank you, Burt, for a fantastic conversation. And thank you all. Have a wonderful day ahead.